Just when you thought it was over, then boom, there we see another brand new opening. It's reliable, flexible, consistent, and simple. It's one that you can also play in classical tournaments, including Blitz and Bullet, by the way. But guys, before I do that, allow me to thank my patrons who support this channel and make sure that things are running smoothly. So this is just a platform where I share other premium content, including these tiers, which you can join to enjoy the benefits below. So once again, thanks to my 104 members. You can see the list goes on, and I'm sincerely grateful to all of these guys. You can also become a Casper Chess supporter by simply joining through the link in the description or in the comment section down below. Thank you guys as well for watching my videos on YouTube. Right. So our new opening for today begins with d4, then after d5, instead of playing any of the highlighted moves on the board such as pawn to c4, knight f3, g3, or even pawn to e3, you simply go queen d3, which looks weird at first sight but very deadly if you play it correctly. This is called the Amazon attack. Now wait a second guys. Queen d3 kind of solves the bishop f5 problem, which happens in the normal London system. For example, if you try to play the typical London system with bishop f4 on move 2, chances are that black may copy you by the fourth move in an effort to challenge your light squared bishop, which normally sits on d3, and they normally play bishop g6 here, which other people call the anti-London system. And so when you think about it, this is one major problem that the Amazon attack tries to solve. I mean, the immediate bishop f5. So after this, the top played move by black is knight c6, followed by knight to f6 and pawn to e6. We're also going to discuss the move pawn to c5, which is quite challenging and you should be prepared for that. Anyway, so let's begin with knight c6. Against this, I recommend that you just continue with your London opening ideas. Remember, knight c6 prepares for pawn to e5 next. And so you need to play bishop f4, over controlling the e5 square. You can see that our queen is still stopping bishop f5, which is a good thing. Just in case black tries to harass your queen this way, you can either go queen b5 check or simply queen b3. In some lines, you can also put your queen on g3 or h3, whatever. So queen b3 provokes pawn to e6 by black, which indirectly blocks the vision of black's light squared bishop on c8. And that's what we want, because now black cannot play bishop f5, the so-called anti-London system. And this is when you can play pawn to c3 and continue playing normal moves like you do in the typical London system, playing the same stuff over and over. By the way, you have an option to play bishop g3 here, which is okay, but the move that I recommend in this position, or the strategy that I recommend, is the knight f3 strategy, allowing black to double up your pawns along the f file, but also indirectly helping you to have dominion on the e5 square. Imagine if your g-pawn is on g3, how solid can that be? The game may continue as follows, and you go bishop d3. If black castles short, you can just go knight bd2, over controlling the e4 square, and you are good. If black rushes out with knight e4, intending to play f5 next, you simply go knight bd2. I mean, just keep it so simple. f5, castle short if you want. And after they castle short, you go pawn to g3. How solid is this pawn structure, you guys? Next, you want to play rook a d1, protecting your knight on d2 before you play knight e5 and pawn to f3 to chase black's knight from e4. So this is just one strategy that you can go with in this Amazon attack. Anyway, after d4, d5, queen d3, and knight c6, the top played move. After you play bishop f4, it's not every time you're going to see your opponents playing knight b4. In fact, knight b4 is a one mover due to queen b3. We just finished looking at that. And so the top played move in this position is knight to f6, not knight b4. So black is going to play knight f6, developing normally, after which you go knight to f3, just a normal London knight development. Again, if knight b4 happens, you have queen b3. That's why you don't ever want to play knight c3 in the Amazon attack, because that would block our queen b3 idea in case of knight b4 by black. Again, our queen on d3 is preventing bishop f5, which is good. So black may play e6, the top played move, paving way for their dark squared bishop. This is when you can go pawn to e3 if you want. You always have c3 in case of anything. Bishop d6, once again, it's up to you to go bishop g3, that's fine. But speaking of strategy, it's up to you to come up with any strategy that you think will give you a comfortable position. For example, c3 is also good, allowing them to double up your pawns along the f file, but unknowingly helping you to centralize your pawns to gain more control on the e5 square. This f4 pawn is a monster pawn in the London system, guys, and I like this. Anyways, if castle short, you know what to do. Knight bd2 stops knight e4, and the game may continue as follows. So you are now playing your normal London system, but one that rose from the Amazon attack. By the way, in this position, bishop d3 is such a sneaky move, because if black foolishly takes your knight on d2 expecting you to take back, well, that hangs mate in one. There's also room for error in this opening when you think about it. Anyway, I'm sure black won't do that. They'll play something like pawn to f5, trying to solidify their knight. But knowing that there is now a real threat of knight takes d2, it's up to you to come up with your own strategy. For example, queen e3, so that if black takes your knight, you can take back with your queen. If knight g6, you just go knight takes g6, oversimplifying the game. Next, you want to put your other knight on e5. So you will take black's knight on e4 and plant your knight on e5 forever. Queen d3 is not a dubious move. We also see this idea against the Dutch defense, which is even more exciting. E.g., you start with d4 and black responds with f5, the Dutch defense. Instead of playing normal moves like c4, knight f3 or whatever, you simply go queen d3, attacking the f5 pawn directly. And I don't know how many times you're going to see your opponents blundering with knight f6. You can see that's the top played move in the Leech's database, which allows you to take this pawn for free. But let's not assume that. Black is going to play pawn to e6, the second most played move. Trying to hold on to their pawn. But the whole idea is to go pawn to g4 next, kind of the wing gambit, right? So that if pawn takes, you give away another pawn in an effort to open up more lines, just like what we do in the Bangkok gambit or in the wing gambit. In this position, which piece do you take with? Do you go bishop takes h3 or rook takes h3 or knight takes h3? So here is the thing, guys. You want to play the move that has a follow-up. For example, bishop takes h3. In this position lacks continuity, but knight takes h3 has this idea of knight g5 next. Black can't even play pawn to h6 here because of queen g6 check. So if knight f6, you just go knight g5 again. Pawn to h6 is a blunder because of queen g6 check. And on the next move, you might end up winning the game or winning your opponent's queen or even the rook. Pop, game over. Anyway, so this is just how deadly this line can be. Even if black doesn't play h6, allowing you to go queen g6 check, and let's say they go pawn to g6, well, you can still sack on h7 like this, intending to capture the knight next. Worse off, if knight takes h7, you can go queen takes g6 check, and after king e7, you first of all take the knight, after which you win black's queen on d8 with bishop g5 check. So I just wanted to show you a similar idea in the Dutch defense with this queen d3 idea. Not a dubious move at all. Alright, let's conclude this video with the last two lines, knight f6 and pawn to e6 line. Once again, d4, d5 and queen d3. We just finished looking at what to do against knight c6, but what if black plays knight f6? First of all, it's worth noting that black can also start with knight f6 on the first move. For example, after you play pawn to d4, instead of black playing d5, it doesn't matter even if they start with knight f6, because you can still go queen d3, and the threat is real in this line. You simply want to play pawn to e4 and start creating other strategies, which is why you're going to see them play pawn to d5 to stop e4, by the way. And this is when you can continue playing your London ideas. Pawn to c3 creates room for queen c2 in case black plays pawn to c4. Typical London ideas: if knight c6, you simply go e3, very solid. If knight h5, which is another anti-London idea that many grandmasters like playing, you can play bishop g3 if you want, or simply knight f3. I don't mind doubling up, my pawns this way. This looks weird in this line, but it's fine. You're playing against a human being, not stockfish. Again, you have total control on the e5 square. They may play queen b6, a typical idea in the French defense, also attacking your pawn on b2. But hey, you can just play queen d2, or try this tricky line, queen c2. Not objectively the best move, but just trying to set up a trap. For example, if knight takes d4, you have knight takes, and if queen takes, all you wanted to do was to make black lose his right to castle and then castle short. So you just opened up many lines. Next, you want to play pawn to g3, but oops, looks like your pawn on f4 was hanging, but you're still going to take it back after queen b3. So this is just one tricky line that you can try in your blitz games. Not objectively the best move, as I said, because after queen c2, by the way, black doesn't have to take your pawn on d4. If they know what they are doing, they will find bishop f5, provoking you to take so that they can win everything that you have in this world or just mess you up. So just go for an early queen exchange if things don't go your way, and you're going to be fine. Last line, which is also exciting, after d4, d5 and queen d3, black may also play pawn to e6 instead of knight c6 or knight f6. The game can also start like this, where black plays pawn to e6 on the first move, called the Howie's defense. It's up to you to go back to the French defense if you want, but again, you can simply go queen d3, having more flexibility along the third rank and also preparing for pawn to e4. That's why you're going to see them playing d5 anyways. Again, it's up to you to go pawn to e4 if you want, or continue applying your London system ideas. Again, pawn to c3. If knight c6, simply go e3. Simple stuff. You're just doing the same thing over and over. The only downfall of this line is this move queen b6 by black, which attacks your pawn on b2. So you must know what to do against this. Just go queen c2. You can see the beauty of this line is that black doesn't even have bishop f5 in this line because of the e6 pawn. So they may take on d4. You just take back with your c pawn. If knight b4, you always have queen b3. If bishop d6, yes, you can do whatever you want. Bishop takes or bishop g3. But if I were you, I would develop another piece with tempo so that if bishop takes f4, I take back with my knight on f4 and be ahead in development. If knight f6, by the way, here comes a simple trap that you should know in this Amazon opening. Beginning with pawn to a3, you just want to win this knight. If they try to retreat their knight, whoops, after exchanging queens, their bishop on d6 will just be a free piece. Similarly, if they don't go knight c6 but instead play knight a6, again you can just exchange queens and win the free bishop on d6 on the next move. So this is one exciting trap that you are going to encounter in the e6 line. Alright guys, this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this so-called Amazon attack. Though not objectively the best opening in the world, it is just something you can try to confuse your enemies, or if you want to play the London system in another way in an effort to avoid the anti-London system with bishop f5. Hope you liked this too. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you are new, and hope to see you soon in my next video. Remember to check out my courses at www.casperchess.com. Until next time, bye bye.